Hi, everybody. My name's Tam. I am sitting next to, or with, or in conversation with the gorgeous woman who I reached out to, Dimity Smith. Hi, Dimity.
Hi Tam. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me on our Create and Innovate series we do with on Facebook. I'm just scrolling down my page to make sure we're streaming okay, Dimity. But I first met you through LinkedIn, and I'm very glad that I did because I think you have got such an interesting background and wealth of resources and passions that I'd love to get to know more. But today, I'm so glad to have your time to talk about how you use social media and the way you approach social media to create conversation as a business. And, Dimity, I just really appreciate the post you put up a couple of days before Australia Day, when you asked, what do you think? And I've got a comment there from Jackie. She's someone on your team.
I'm so sorry. I'm about to sneeze. I knew this would happen as soon as we start. Sorry. So apologies who was watching this and gets that in their sound waves. But hi, Jackie. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thanks for joining us. So, Dimity, are you okay? Do you need a...
No, I'm right. I'm good. I'm fine. All right.
All right, cool. So, yes, I just really appreciated your post leading up to Australia Day, where you asked your audience, what do you think? And asked, that business audience, how do they approach Australia Day, and how do they intend to post something, or do they intend to do, no posting and just let it slide by?
Yeah.
What drove you to make that happen, bring people together?
Yeah, well, I think everything right now across the board, there are so many issues that people are so concerned about offending someone. I mean, we think of at the moment with cancel culture, as soon as someone says something wrong or does something wrong or looks the wrong way, you can be completely cancelled. So I think everyone's really on tenterhooks with wanting to do the right thing, but there's also a tendency for people to jump on a bandwagon. But there's also that third thing of not being really sure what you're supposed to do. I mean, I'm a psychologist by trade. That's my background. And so, I think I probably am thoughtful in how I write posts, and I think about how things will be received by my audience. That's probably something I do, as I'm sure many people in events and marketing do. But I think, yeah, Australia Day, it's really tough, and I'm not a First Nations woman, and I don't know what those feelings are because I haven't been through them, but I want to learn. And I think that's the approach I try and take to things is wherever possible is seek first to understand. And I think this year, particularly as things continue to become discussed more, whether it becomes Invasion Day or whether Australia Day is changed to another date, it's a really tricky situation for a lot of businesses to navigate right now, and I'm like them, just working it out as I go.
I think you're right. There is a lot of division that say, for example, we've talked about vaccination as well, and COVID restrictions, or how people can interact in the community depending on their vaccination status. But I guess what I really appreciated in your post on LinkedIn, Dimity, was creating that space for respect and that space for discussion in a safe way. And how did you set that up so that people could participate and also understand where you're coming from?
Yeah, I think, look, to be honest, it wasn't a thought through post. Like, I hadn't pre-prepared that. I literally got on LinkedIn that day. And there was so much stuff going around. And I think that's probably the way I work, is I tend to go off a lot of my gut instinct, and feelings about things. And I feel like I'm pretty authentic in what I write. Like if I'm having a crappy week, people will know because I'll post memes about it. Or if I'm struggling with something, I do like to share that vulnerability, because I think in business and with social media, we talk about how it's always the highlights reel. And I hate that. I hate looking at people's pages that make you feel like crap, because you're going, they're so perfect. They're nailing it at life. And I don't want to be that, because I am so not nailing it at life. And I do not know what I'm doing 90% of the time. I mean, like, I'm trying my best, but I think most people are just trying to do the best they can. And I think when I wrote that post, I took it from a place of, again, that seek first to understand, but a place of curiosity. And I think in any situation where there is fear or anxiety, whether that's self-reflection or external or outwardly reflecting, asking that question, how can I be curious here? What is a way that I can put this out and use curiosity and say, okay, what is this feeling, or what is this situation I don't quite understand? And I put my hand up and I say, I don't know. And I try really hard to make it clear that I am not the expert in anybody else's life but my own. And so that's why I sort of put it out there. And I've done the same actually on Facebook recently. And it was about the vaccination situation, where I said, look, I'm involved in this discussion on Twitter. I'm really interested to see, there was this person had said to me, why is it that people who don't believe in medical science and don't want to get their vaccination, should they be rejected when they come to a hospital for treatment because they're choosing to believe science in one way but not believe in the other way? And I put that out on my Facebook, just my private page, and I said, look, I'm really interested to see what people think here. Do you think that's fair, or do you not? And I think I'm always someone too, and I've been brought up like this, that it's really okay to be challenged if it means you're going to learn something and have something taken outside the box. And I take on feedback like that with work, because I think you will learn and develop a lot more that way. And it was really interesting because a lot of different people posted and said things like, one girl, she's up in Cape York, or northern part of Queensland, and said that the Indigenous community are so afraid because of those initial campaigns that were coming out in Australia where there was deaths from AstraZeneca, and they were absolutely fearful for their life. And she indicated that it's not an open and shut case. These people have been taught to fear it, and particularly in the Indigenous community, where potentially literacy and numeracy might be issues. They don't feel comfortable reading anything in more depth, or reading things that are, clinically evaluating the treatments. And we have to be mindful of that. And that was so good, because I had previously not even thought about that. I just thought, oh, people are stupid because they don't get the vaccine. But, there's so many different circumstances. And I thought that was really arrogant of me to think that. And that's where I always try and approach something that I do comment about or post about is, okay, I'm not sure, the jury's out here, and I kind of have that approach. The jury's still out. What do you think? What can you share with me? Because I want to learn. I don't understand it. Similar to the situation with Vladimir Putin and Russia and the Ukraine right now. I don't understand why he's taken that choice, but I want to know from people, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? What can we do? And trying to keep a really open mind until I understand something a bit better.
I think it's really courageous that you do set up those spaces as a businesswoman, Dimity, on social, because it can be very easy to take, to take the rosy glasses approach.
Yeah.
And businesses are responsible and do contribute to the community that we live in, and how we treat one another, and how we understand ourselves. So seeing that sort of activity really stuck with me. And it sounds like in creating that space, Dimity, you are getting some great interaction from your audience that's
it's really interesting. Like, even I had this conversation this week with my brand designer, Sam Watson from Proud as Punch. And I made the choice this week to change my logo for Mardi Gras period, for 2-week period, which goes from the 18th of February to the 6th of March.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke to him and I said, look, this is something that I'd really like to do. You know, I know state government do it, Qantas do it, some organisations do it as a stamp of inclusivity and diversity, and or inclusion and diversity. And he said, hang on a second, we need to talk about this. Like, what are your reasons for it? Because the last thing you want is a brand that jumps on a bandwagon. You know, there's got to be reason and values aligned to your business. Otherwise, the message gets diluted. And I said to him, I said, it's so important for me as a rural woman, knowing that, you know, the LGBTQ I plus community, I want them to feel so welcome at my events and any type of marketing or anything that I do. And that might alienate some people because of that, but it's something that's super important to my values. And I think there's probably, you know, so many farmers or women in agriculture that probably don't feel welcomed or comfortable, and it's not something in the rural space that's quite where it is in, say, a city space. So I think it's just, I've just tried to find what aligns with me and the business most and what's really important to me, because I don't believe in jumping on a bandwagon, particularly if it's not something I understand, or something I don't understand or I don't have enough information on. And I think otherwise you fall into that trap of just jumping on what everybody else is doing, and it doesn't actually represent you having a backbone in what you do. And I think that's why it's really important for me to find out and seek first to understand and really have an opinion on it. And, you know, we spoke about this, that I didn't make a post about Invasion Day this year because I am still unsure what the stance of Grow Events is on that. I mean, I am one for absolute empathy and making sure that all people feel good and respected and supported and acknowledged. But I don't want to post purely because everyone else is doing it. I want something to be meaningful and have traction. So whether that's a donation to an organisation which is supporting legal aid for Indigenous people, or an opportunity where a First Nations woman can get access to a leadership program, or something to that effect. I mean, on the day I actually did post something that I felt really strongly about, which was Shanna Wan, who is a woman from Narrabri, who won the Australian of the Year Local Hero for 2022. And she's not far from here. She's an incredible woman and has a business called Sober in the Country. And she won that on the Australia Day Awards. And so I chose to take that approach because that was something that was genuine and authentic that came from me. Not that I don't feel genuinely concerned about the change of the date and Invasion Day. I just don't know enough yet to be able to confidently comment on it.
No, I love it. I love that you've stood up and, you know, put yourself in a place of vulnerability, but in doing that created space for others to explore and be curious and share their viewpoint. Dimini, I thank you so much for your time today. It's been really great to talk, and I hope we get to catch up further in the future. Really love what you're making happen.
Thank you. I really look forward to it. Gosh, that went quickly too. I probably talked too much on that there, but I get very excited when I'm on my soapbox.
You're here to talk and tell us and inform us. So yeah, I've learned heaps. I'm going to step into that space too. And thank you for our audience joining us. I'm sure if you've got any questions or ideas or something you'd like to respond to, pop in the comments, and I'm sure we can organise for Dimity to get back to you. Thank you, Dimity.
Thank you, everyone.